focus on what you can do to help and not what you can't do. You can do things, and every little step you do is something you've done that you can be proud of.
Today, I'm very pleased to welcome Nicole Groch. Nicole is the Australian Programs Manager at Cruelty Free International, CFI, the former president of Choose Cruelty Free, and a vegan hair and makeup artist. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Nicole, could you briefly summarise the work of Cruelty Free International and how you became involved with the organisation?
Absolutely. So Cruelty Free International is the leading global organisation working to end animal testing worldwide. We're basically working towards a world that is cruelty-free, and we work really hard to achieve this. We also have the Leaping Bunny program, which is the gold standard for brands around the world wanting to showcase their commitment to being a cruelty-free brand. It is an incredibly rigorous process for a company to get approved under our Leaping Bunny program. It's very in-depth. The company itself is required to do a deep dive into each of the ingredients they use to manufacture a product. And that's not just the manufacturing stage, the production stage, the supplier stage. That is finding out and getting signed statements of declaration against animal testing from each and every raw ingredient producer, whether it's produced in a lab, grown on a farm, distilled from a flower, it doesn't matter. They have to get a signed statement of assurance that they don't animal test from a fixed cutoff date policy. And then on top of that, we audit our brands. We independently audit them. So we bring in auditors and we audit them every 3 years to check they're maintaining their Cruelty Free International compliance.
Okay, yeah, very rigorous process. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So that's the Leaping Bunny, the accreditation that people need to look out for.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you look out for the Cruelty Free International Leaping Bunny program, there is a difference. We do have the Leaping Bunny program in the USA and Canada is independently run by a coalition of animal groups. Cruelty Free International is the international Leaping Bunny program. So for brands in Australia, New Zealand, all over the world, that is the Leaping Bunny program to go for.
Okay, yeah. Brilliant. And how did you become involved with the organisation?
Well, I have a long history of working with Choose Cruelty Free, which was back over 30 years ago. Began in Melbourne, Australia, Melbourne, Victoria, and was run by a lovely group of women, and there was one man then, and they were committed to ending animal testing and they did this by, again, creating a program, accreditation program for brands where they would have to dive and look into their raw ingredient suppliers, not the producers, the suppliers, the manufacturers and themselves. And I found them because back in my late teens, early 20s, I did my hairdressing apprenticeship in a salon in High Street, Armidale. And back in the late 80s, so I'm showing my age now, but back in the late 1980s, they used a brand that was one of the forefronts when it comes to being natural, safer, and cruelty-free, which not animal tested. And that's how I became aware of animal testing. And then as I finished my apprenticeship and went on to become a makeup artist and a freelance hair and makeup artist, I vowed I would only use cruelty-free products in my work. But my way of finding out if a brand was cruelty-free was simply to ask the brand. I might ask in store, I might write to them, and I nearly always got a reply that, yes, we're cruelty-free. And I didn't know any further than that, and I naively believed them. And so really for the first few years of freelancing as a hair and makeup artist, I was using brands that actually were testing, but not at the point of where it's a box product. They were testing maybe at the production stage or at a different stage or using ingredients that were tested. And I didn't know that. And somehow, and I still do not to this day know how I came across Choose Cruelty Free, but I did. And I reached out to them and I said, look, I'm a freelance hair and makeup artist. I work a lot with actors and celebrities and musicians. I can do some campaigns for you. I'm happy to volunteer. And they were wonderful and said, come on board. And for 25 years, I volunteered as their PR and marketing director and did all their campaigns, including the I'd rather go naked than wear fur campaigns and a lot of community service work with celebrities. And it was great. It was wonderful. And
Brilliant.
then
25 years. That's a big achievement.
yeah, look, it was fun work for me because I was doing all the glamour side of it, all the campaign
Mhm.
work, not the nitty-gritty stuff. It was harder for the others. But then come 2019, um, there was only five of us directors at that stage and two part-time paid staff. And in 2019, do you remember when the laws came in Australia for cosmetic testing, that there was that
Yes.
that Band-Aid type ban
Yep.
law?
The Industrial Chemicals Act.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
which really only covered new cosmetic ingredients for the sole purpose use of cosmetics. So it really didn't cover most of the ingredients used that manufacturers use to make cosmetics, household cleaning products, and personal care products. But anyhow, the other directors were close to retirement age, some were over retirement age, and they thought it was a good time to move on, which I understand, and retire. And I took over as president. And in those couple of years before I did the merge with Cruelty Free International in 2021, I became very aware that a lot of the brands, the Australian brands, the moment they grew and became successful, they got bought out by bigger brands, overseas international brands. Also, with the rise of e-commerce, brands were selling in countries all over the world. They were getting their ingredients from all over the world. Very hard for a smaller grassroots organization for Choose Cruelty Free to
Mm.
to police. We couldn't order. We didn't have the manpower. We were a small group then of 3 directors and 2 part-time paid staff. And I realized we really had to do something. We had to sort of find a place for Choose Cruelty Free where we could really, really thoroughly keep it, keep abreast of what was happening with our brands and make sure they were compliant over years and years and years as they grew and diverged out into different brands.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Michelle Thew, who is the CEO at Cruelty Free International, and they are headquartered in the UK. And I had a chat with her and I said, I basically think, it would be great to merge because they are the global leading body ending animal testing of cosmetics, personal care, and cleaning products. And what I loved is Michelle Thew would be invited to speak at United Nations seminars on this issue. The
Mm.
science team were working with legislation and laws around the world and other science teams around the world and really making an impact. And I thought, this is great. And I loved the fact that they audit their brands and that they were going right down to the raw ingredient producers of each and every ingredient, something we just didn't have the manpower to be able
Yeah.
to. So that's basically it. And the merge took a year. It wasn't a simple merge. And Choose Cruelty Free closed their doors in 2021, and now Cruelty Free International and the Leaping Bunny program is the non-profit organization, not the brand, sorry, that companies wanting to showcase it that they are cruelty free and that they are committed to that will now look to and approach to get the Leaping Bunny logo on pack, basically.
Yeah. So quite a journey there, and a lot of personal persistence. But
Yeah.
seems like definitely the right alignment to do a really rigorous job and in view of all the international um partnerships and as you said, brand takeovers and so on.
Yes, absolutely. And look, even in my journey with hair and makeup, it's been a journey. I over the years lost or chose to turn down many, many lucrative jobs, many jobs that included brands that were animal testing, using fur in fashion, exotic
Mm.
skins in fashion. I turned it down back then in the 90s, late 80s, well, actually by then it was the 90s, I was seen as what's the word? I don't even know the word to use me, but someone like I was unusual because most
Yes.
people didn't care about that sort of thing.
Like an extremist position.
It's, I guess, to it, yeah,
Mm.
extremist, but I guess I did lose a lot of jobs then, and that was a choice, and a choice I'm very happy and proud of myself for making.
Yeah.
But I'm loving now the turnaround. I'm loving now that definitely in the last decade is I'm being sought out as a hair and makeup artist, vegan cruelty-free hair and makeup artist, because I am vegan and cruelty-free, not despite being vegan and cruelty-free.
Yes.
And
That's
I've always said no animal, my ethos in work is no animal should ever suffer for human vanity and fashion. It's not okay.
no, exactly. I'm really inspired by your personal commitment and all that you've done in your
Thank you.
professional and personal stance there.
Likewise,
Um,
what you guys
yeah,
are doing is
thank
unbelievable.
you. And can I ask, so in your current role as the Australian Programs Manager for Cruelty Free International, can you take me through what you would say would be the most powerful campaigns or initiatives that you've worked on in your time in the role?
Well, yeah, it's more and more are coming, but you got to remember when we did the merge, it was in the height of the lockdowns and COVID,
Yes.
and we couldn't do the massive, big, shout out that we were planning to do, the big reveal. So
Mm-hmm.
it was all done very quietly then. But I think the biggest and most exciting thing I've worked on so far is Kmart. Kmart
Mm.
did their own home brands, which is OXX Cosmetics and their Anko ranges, and they got approved under Cruelty Free International in the Leaf and Bunny program. And we did a major launch with them last year. We went up to Sydney and did it there with influencers. We had a dinner with I think it was about 10 or 12 really well-known beauty influencers, and I got to do a makeover there. Then we did some other in-store in Sydney. We did an in-store setup and talked and got filmed there. And what was exciting to me, especially as a hair and makeup artist, is to see a major Australian chain store, which is known by every single Australian here that lives here. It's a household name, Kmart.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
see him wanting and doing and putting in that huge amount of work to get approved to check, can you imagine how many raw ingredients they have and how
Mm.
many hundreds of products they have? Unbelievable work, and they should be super proud. And we are so happy to have them approved by us. But it was massive because they start the ball rolling for Australian brands. They will start the ball rolling. Another big brand that did it was Sukin.
Yes. Yep.
And, Sukin's in every single, you know, supermarket, chemist, chain chemist. It's everywhere.
Yes.
And that makes it accessible for Aussies to go out and buy cost point, easily affordable products. Cleaning products we're still working on, but we're getting there. We're getting more brands approved. But Sukin, you've got all your basic skincare, your deodorants, your sunscreens. Kmart, you've got all your cosmetics, your fake nails, your fake lashes, all your skincare, the wipes, everything. It means anyone at any level can buy cruelty-free, really cruelty-free approved brands. No
Mm.
companies saying they're cruelty-free or putting on their own logo or their own cruelty-free terminology, without having done the deep dive and the check to ensure that it's legitimate.
Yeah, I think that they are, there's two companies that you mentioned are such big milestones because we often will have students contact us to talk about cosmetic testing or animal testing and what brands can they recommend to their friends. And obviously they're on a limited budget.
Yeah.
And just to see Kmart and Sukin, and they're often on discounted prices in the supermarkets, having that more affordable option is just great to be able to recommend to younger people.
And what I like because I'm a vegan myself, they're vegan I think that
Oh,
both
great.
brands are completely vegan. And that's another thing which people need to understand. Vegan, and this is a really, really big point when it comes to animal testing. vegan does not mean cruelty-free.
Yeah.
Vegan ingredients, especially in cosmetics and cleaning products, can be animal tested just as easily as a non-vegan ingredient. So Cruelty Free International is not a vegan certification. It is a cruelty-free certification. A lot of our brands are also vegan, and we make mention of that on our Leaping Bunny list. When you go onto crueltyfreeinternational.org, you can then search by region, you can search by brand type, you can search by vegan, non-vegan. So
Yes.
you need both. You really need both. So just a vegan certification, or even, a vegan saying we're vegan doesn't mean a lot if they haven't checked every single raw ingredient for recent animal testing.
Yes, not in interchangeable terms there, but people
No.
are
Yeah.
confusing them.
And I think the other thing that is really concerning is there are so many brands popping logos, rabbit logos, paw print logos, and we're against animal testing. Very generic, very sort of, well, it's greenwashing because how do you know? And what that does, it's very, very confusing for consumers. They will go into a store, they'll pick up a product and they'll go, oh, but they say they're against animal testing. Oh, look, there's a rabbit logo. And they think they're doing the right thing. They think we're buying a cruelty-free vegan product, whatever. It's wonderful. There are brands that are legitimately doing that. They may not have a certification, but a certification shows a true commitment to deep diving and to checking and to then sharing the fact that they have done that. And that's a trust issue when you're a consumer. And I think that's so important, so, so important.
Yes, just making sure that you're looking for the right logo and not just taking the word for it or other logos that may not be genuine.
Correct, correct.
Yes. And
Yeah,
so moving on from cosmetic products, my next question is about more cosmetic procedures. So some people may be using cosmetic procedures such as Botox injections or fillers without even realizing that animals have been used in the safety testing of these
yeah,
products. Can
yeah.
you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah, this is a very tricky one, because in my work personally as a hair and makeup artist, I come across many, many clients that are all for using cruelty-free cosmetics and vegan beauty products, but they've had Botox and or fillers.
Mm,
Now, Botox and fillers are medical procedures. So that in themselves means they are animal tested at some stage at this because of that. The other
mm,
really shocking thing that many people don't know about Botox is that it is the way they test each batch, it's batch tested on animals, and they do individual batch testing of Botox on mice because
mm,
it is botulism, which is a neurotoxin. It is unstable. It is a live product, a bacteria. And what basically happens is each batch is not necessarily the same as the last batch, and they don't know how much of it can cause paralysis at what levels. So they get mice and they inject it into their chest cavity, abdomen area, that sort of area, when they're alive without pain relief, and the animals, it's excruciating. Now, the good news is that major Botox manufacturers are claiming now to be using non-animal cell-based tests instead of tests on mice, but we're not sure if these same manufacturers at the earliest stages of manufacturing animal testing. At the
mm.
production stage, we're not
Yeah.
yet sure, and we're not sure if all major manufacturers have moved on to cell-based testing. But we are hopeful that soon batch testing of Botox on animals will be a thing of the past. In the meantime, many people who are very concerned about the welfare of animals have decided against Botox until we know animal testing of Botox has stopped.
Yes. Yes. I think that sounds like the best approach given the uncertainties at the moment.
Yes, and
Um,
the same with fillers. I mean, I think the good news is with the way science is going, and because we're making leaps and bounds with, the scientific methods of non-animal testing. I would hope to say that in the next decade, there will be a phase out. That is what I really hope will happen. I don't know for sure, but it's heading that direction because there's a lot. And this is where people who are listening to these sort of podcasts, that's where your voice is so, so powerful. When you are writing to the companies that are producing the fillers and the Botox, saying, I'm going to boycott you until I see you're not using animal testing methods. I'm not
Yeah.
going to get Botox. I've told my friends not to get Botox or fillers. Your voice creates change. They will listen because you're where the money goes. You spend the money to get it done. They're not getting as many people getting it done. They're not getting as much income. They then look at their market research and go, oh, what's happened? Oh, people want this. Okay, well, we need to look at this. And that's where change happens. So money speaks a lot, as does your voice.
Yes, and I would imagine that the non-animal methods would be more economical for those companies as well than having to do that animal batch testing on each batch as well. So they would
Absolutely.
have an economic benefit there as well as doing the right thing.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And do you have any tips from your experience on how to handle opposition from any stakeholders within the beauty industry or animal testing industry more broadly?
Well, this is something that at Cruelty Free International, we are very much about working in positivity and empowering people and in an empowering way. We will never name and shame brands that may still be testing because those brands that may be testing today may not be testing next week, next year, next month. We want to empower them to change. So we inspire change and we lead by example. We want basically to encourage everyone to join us in fighting for a cruelty-free future. We believe that is possible. And what we do is we work like our CEO, Michelle Thew, and our wonderful science team. They work with governments around the world to inspire them to change animal testing laws and regulations. We use evidence and science-based facts in our arguments. And through this, we really have inspired some monumental changes for the good of animals. And with boycotting and whistleblowing, they have their place in animal rights and welfare. But this is not how we work at Cruelty Free International. We really find it works best if we sit down with the brands that animal test and we have a conversation with them. We have a conversation on the importance of ending animal testing and why it is beneficial, not just for animals, which is obviously our side of it, but for their companies, for their marketing, their sales, their future. And that's how change happens.
Yeah. So yeah, negotiation or persuasion rather than the boycotts in this case.
Yeah, I think it's really important to show them the benefits of ending animal testing rather than pointing the finger and show them what can be achieved by ending animal testing. The positivity that comes out of it is huge for brands. Huge, huge, huge. We saw it when Garnier got approved and CoverGirl and Rimmel got approved by Cruelty Free International. The reception they got was unbelievably positive, and people were so, so happy globally to see that. So yeah, it's
Yes.
wonderful.
So really leading on to what you've just mentioned, how would you say that the public perception of cruelty-free or vegan products has evolved over the years? And what role would you say public opinion plays in driving industry change?
Huge, huge, huge role. And that leads itself to the huge rise in social media. Everyone has a voice, and that prevalence of social media, because it's uncensored, we are seeing imagery more and more of what happens to animals in testing laboratories and on factory farms and fur farms. And awareness leads people to wanting to choose cruelty-free products. And it has led to a very perceptible change. We are very aware that consumers are now choosing to search out cruelty-free and vegan products. Money speaks, and we see that, and brands are doing well due to their commitment to being cruelty-free and vegan and clean. and they influence the rest of the market to change. In the cosmetic, we know in the cosmetic arena, for example, it is so competitive. So brands are always sitting down and doing market research with the public and with other brands to see what entices consumers. And it's really wonderful to know that many consumers now want those cruelty-free and vegan-friendly products. It's very much like how now you go into a supermarket and the amount of vegan food products available is huge. And that has come from the power of the consumer asking for it, shopping for the small amount that there was, and seeing the supermarket saw that they were being snapped up, bring in more product, more being snapped up, and it grows and it grows and it grows. So the power of each individual is massive.
Yes, definitely. Definitely very evident in recent years.
Absolutely.
And if you could offer some very easy tips for consumers on how they can buy cruelty-free in Australia, what would that be?
Well, simply go across to visit the Cruelty Free International website, join up to sign our newsletters, whatnot, follow us on our social media, and
Yeah.
then go to, on our Cruelty Free International website, go to our Leaping Bunny approved list, look at the brands approved there, look and double check when you're looking to find a brand, you're not sure, double check. Mind you, look for our logo on pack. Our logo will always have the leaping bunny, the jumping leaping bunny. You'll see that. Maybe you'll share the logo with viewers after this podcast, or listeners, I should say. And it will always have the words Cruelty Free International under the logo. That's how you know it's Leaping Bunny approved. And that shop from these brands, support these brands like your Sukins and your Kmarts and there's so many. I mean, I'm happy to give you a list of all the brands in Australia. Even if you go across to my social media page myself, Nicole Groch _ hair and makeup on Instagram, you'll see a lot of the brands. I've got a little reel that shows you all the brands in Australia that are Cruelty Free International approved. I'm always happy to people to hit me up, jump into my DMs and ask me which brands are approved. Always happy to hear from people who are wanting to change over to cruelty-free cosmetics, personal care, and cleaning products. I couldn't be happier, and I will always apply.
Yep. So quite a simple process to find out that information, which is great.
Yeah, it's a touch of your phone, open up an app and it's there.
This episode is made possible by animal-free science advocacy supporters. If you would like to help support the podcast, go to animalfreescienceadvocacy.org.au.
And I know it's very difficult to predict the future, but do you have any ideas personally about what is going to happen in the next decade for cruelty-free beauty and animal-free science?
It is difficult to predict, but I'm hoping the continuation of these wonderful animal-free science methods will surpass animal testing in leaps and bounds. And the next decade, our vision at Cruelty Free International is that within the next decade, it will all be phased out, and we'll work to phase it out. And our vision will be that in a decade's time, animal testing will be a thing of the horrible past.
Great. And what helps you to stay motivated and passionate about your work? I guess that long-term 10-year goal would help, but what else helps you stay motivated and passionate, especially during the more challenging times?
I think for anyone who cares about animals, seeing what we see on the internet these days can really burn you out and can really depress you. But I always look towards my own animals that I have adopted. I have 3 adopted guinea pigs. I had more, but sadly over the years, I've had adopted guinea pigs for over 10 years. I've got an adopted rescued Chihuahua who was basically rescued from a bad breeding situation. I have rescued birds that flee free range. My own animals remind me that, we are blessed to live in a safe and healthy life, and we have to work to help other animals to live in a safe and healthy, happy life and free. And, I make sure I see these social media posts, so I never lose sight. I never sort of put blinkers on and forget that there are animals needing our help. And I think, you know, to practice self-care and try to repeat to yourself that every little thing you do to help animals is worthy. Every little thing, even if it's sharing a post, signing a petition, having a conversation with someone, making a donation, even if it's a few dollars, it doesn't matter. It's important. You are helping, you are making a positive difference for animals. I always say the best way to convert those that are still not using cruelty-free products, gift them products. Bring them over Sukin hand soap or a ethic cleansing bar, or, you know, bring them something that they can use in their home. Bring them some vegan chocolates that are delicious instead of milk-based chocolates. There's so much we can do that. It's do it through a positive way to inspire others to change. And the most important thing, focus on what you can do to help and not what you can't do. You can do things, and every little step you do is something you've done that you can be proud of.
Thank you. I think that's really useful tips there.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. I think, you know, the other thing is don't overload yourself visually or mentally, what you do see out there. It is very easy to overload. I see it daily. Like, I cannot tell you. I would say every day my email inbox is full of petitions for animal
Yes.
abuse and whatnot, and you're in the same boat. What
Yeah.
I'd like to do is, if it's an animal organization, I just sign. I sign the letters, I sign the petitions, I just
Mhm.
sign. Don't read through all the horrors.
Yeah.
I just sign, because sometimes it's just too much to keep seeing and reading. But I know it's an animal organization. I believe in what they're doing. I put my name because I know petitions. We know petitions work. We know
Yes.
letters work. People think, oh, what does it do? It does a lot. You get enough signatures, you go up to the government legislation, the parliament with that, they listen. And we've just seen it with the ban on live export with Animals Australia.
Exactly.
We have seen it worked. It took time, it takes years, but those continual signing petitions, look where we're at, look what they've done. And that's massive, 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 massive amount of pressure on the government from all the names and signatures of each and every one of those people that put them down there.
Yes, exactly. And I think a contributing factor to the bill on cosmetic testing here, although it's not 100% what we wanted, there was some public pressure behind that bill and into
Yep.
improving that bill as well.
Yep, absolutely. And
Yes.
we'll keep doing that. We will
Yeah.
continue. So yeah, that's really it. We're living in a very fast-paced time where you live on our devices, you know, and so that's really a quick and easy,
Mm.
very quick and easy thing you can do. Just
Yeah.
send the petition.
Yeah.
You know?
Look at the petition, sign it, but don't necessarily overwhelm yourself with the content or the images if you get personally impacted by it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah.
So based on your very extensive, well, over 25 years of industry experience, do you have any thoughts or feedback for us as an organisation that could strengthen AFSA's campaigns and outreach efforts?
Well, yeah, again, it comes down to that thing which I just said a moment ago about living fast-paced and being on devices. Our attention spans are so short, including my own. So
Mhm.
my advice would be to keep things visually impactful with short and simple messages and really easy calls to actions. And you want to get as many campaigns as you can viral on social media. You want the campaigns to be visually appealing. That's really important. Like, it's that having that visual appeal makes people stop for even that 5 seconds. You've captured them. They may sign, they may share, which is what you want. And the biggest thing we can do is educate our young adults. So setting up some sort of curriculum in high schools and universities about the topic of animal testing and how it can be abolished, and getting, you know, them excited to and empowered to work towards, you know, spreading our message and fighting, you know, animal testing. Some of these kids may grow up to be incredible people in, you know, parliament and lawyers. We don't know. Biologists, scientists, medical experts in their field, bioengineers, we don't know. But if we educate them and they know about this, they will make the changes. As we grow older and retire, they will step up. And that's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with those recommendations. Thank you. And really, thank you so much for all you've done for animals throughout your career and for speaking up for what you believe in, and actions speak
No,
more
thank
than
you.
words. So we really admire your work and what you're doing at Cruelty Free International, because there is this assumption that there is no cosmetic testing in Australia, but you can still purchase plenty of products that have been tested on animals. So it's really important that people use
Yeah.
the Leaping logo as a solid basis on selecting products that really are cruelty free. So
Yeah, and I
thank
think
you.
one thing, we didn't touch on, which I think is important, and I actually wasn't something I thought about till now, but it is important
Yeah.
because we said that a lot of people don't believe that animal testing is still happening off
Mm,
cosmetics. I, as a hair and makeup artist, often get asked, how do they test on animals? What do they just put lipstick on the rabbit? Do they put
yeah.
eyeshadow in their eyes? That is something that still needs to be understood, that animal testing of cosmetics is nothing like that.
Yeah.
And it's horrific, and the animals are restrained, and it's force-fed, it's dropped into their eyes, it's rubbed in their skin, there's no pain relief, and all animals are killed at the end of the experiment. That's how they test on cosmetics. It's not, it's happens, and it happens at the ingredient stage. Not usually, not so much anymore at the finished product, though there are
Yeah.
brands that do. But generally, it's the creating of the ingredients, the creating of the product, the creation stage. They test for safety and they test for efficacy, and there are incredibly valid, much more accurate in a lot of cases, scientific modalities that do not require the use of animals, that companies can choose to use. And also companies can choose to not sell into certain countries that require animals
Yeah.
by law. And we are working with those countries to find ways around this, and we're making great progress. But at the moment, as it stands, cosmetic testing is still in some countries. And at the finished production stage, at the finished product stage before it gets sold in that country. So you can choose not to buy cosmetics by those brands that are still doing those sales in those sort of countries.
Of course, yeah, it's about those personal choices, as you've emphasized, and that really resonates what you're describing about people's misconceptions about what actually cosmetic testing is, because I often hear the same line, oh, they're just testing the lipstick on an animal. They're not realizing what the process is at all, or how it's applied or ingested, or whatever the case may be. So the reality of it really does need to be emphasized, and that it's not necessary.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I mean, that's the work you guys do is a lot of that, and it's very powerful work, and it's amazing. Like the same to you, I can say the same to you. I highly, highly respect your organization and what you're fighting for and what you do, and yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you for, taking the time to talk to me about all of this. I think together, when animal groups and nonprofits work together, it's even more powerful and wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, Nicole.
So
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Nice
Rachel.
to speak
Really
with you.
appreciate it. Thank you.